Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Today's video is video number 101. Once again, today's video is video number 101 video on this channel. And I will title today's video, Salvation 101. And here we will read Deuteronomy chapter 30, laying out all the stipulations in order for the children of Israel and the stranger that is of a contrite spirit to reconcile themselves back onto the Most High. So in this video is your meal ticket, your ball ticket, your lottery ticket, Mega Millions and Powerball, and your get out of jail free card. This lesson encompasses all of these things. Though the children of Israel are the poorest people throughout the earth and mistreated, we're actually a wealthy people. But we must understand exactly where our wealth, our health, and our strength comes from. All right. Once again, brace yourselves, tighten up your jaws. Do not turn to the left or to the right, or you will get hit in the mouth. We are to walk the straight and narrow way of the Most High's commandments. Once again, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Let's start off with verse 1 of Deuteronomy chapter 30. This is our only way out. This is it. There's no other way. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1. Excuse me, and it reads, And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations where they are thy strong one, have driven thee. So this is what's going to happen once we're scattered into the many nations. Okay, we've received our blessings. We're kicked out of the land because now we're in the midst of the curses. We're in the midst of the nations receiving these curses. And he's going to bring all these things to mind. We're going to be called to recollection, to remembrance. Verse 2. And thou shalt return unto Yah thy strong one, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I have commanded thee this day. Thou and thy children, with all thine heart, and with all thine soul. Once again, the children of Israel is a seed line of people. So that is why it's being mentioned specific here, us and our children, because we are a seed line. You live forever through your seed, through your children, generation after generation. That is why these names are listed in Chronicles and Numbers and everywhere else. We are a generation, a gene pool, a gene line. Verse 3, that then Yah thy strong one will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yah thy strong one has scattered thee. Now, the Most High returning to gather us from the many nations where he has scattered us. We are in these nations praying to JC. JC never scattered us in these nations. JC is not coming to get us out of these nations. JC is a myth, a Roman lie. Verse 4, And if any of thine be driven out unto the utmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yah thy strong one gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. For all the Israelites who are scattered into the four corners of the earth, regardless of where they are, whether they be in India, in Pakistan, Iran, Brazil, you name any faraway place, and the Most High will fetch us from those places. Because he's the one that sent us, he drove us into these many different places. Verse 5, And Yah thy strong one will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed. That is Israel. He's going to bring us back there. And thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. So therefore he's going to multiply us. That's our health, our wealth, our children. So we will be blessed double, especially those that are of Jerusalem. Verse 6, And Yah thy strong one will circumcise thine heart, and the heart of thy seed, your children, to love Yah thy strong one with all thine heart and with all thine soul, that thou mayest live. Remember, These commandments, it's not a vain thing unto us. It is our life. It is also our wisdom to the nations. It is also our mercy. It is also the gateway, the open door by which we can reconcile ourselves back unto the Most High. Verse 7. And Yah thy strong will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. We are not taught the Torah for the simple fact that should we know who our strength is and we start to return back unto him via his law, via his extension of mercy, then all the curses and the things that we are experiencing, the difficulty, the strife, it will be placed upon the head of our enemies. It was within our enemies' best interest to make sure that we didn't understand this. That's why we were never taught to read. And we were steered away clear from the Torah. This is our book. This is the instructions that were specifically given to you. Verse 8. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yah thy strong one, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. Keep in mind, we made an agreement, a verbal agreement with Moshe. We were fearful of the Most High's voice, terrified that we would die. So we told Moshe, Moshe, you go up and you speak, you commune with the Most High. And whatever it is that he instructs you to do, you bring it down to us. And once you tell that and give us that instruction, we will do it. That is our agreement. And we have failed in doing so. Verse 9. And Yah thy strong will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy land for good. For Yah will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers. So as we return back onto this law, then all the many blessings that was promised unto us in Deuteronomy chapter 28 from verse 1 through verse 15, all of these things will be returned back unto us, and they will be multiplied. Verse 10. And if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yah thy strong one, to keep his commandments and his statutes which are written in this book of the law, and if thou turn unto Yah thy strong with all thine heart and with all thy soul. The stipulation here, as you read these commandments, is that we should turn to the Most High, us and our children, with our whole heart and with our whole soul. And that is the stipulation. If we turn, in doing so, everything that we're experiencing right now will be reversed. The ones that do not turn, he's going to kill them. Simple as that. Verse 11. For this commandment, which I command thee this day, is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. So, all of our instruction, the Most High has not spoken in secret. He did not tell the children of Israel to seek him in vain. The Most High does not move in mysterious ways. The Most High does not do anything off the cuff. Before he does anything, he reveals it to his prophets first. So the people are warned prior to. This is your warning. These are your instructions. That way you cannot say you didn't know. All right? So this information is not afar off. We have it. It's called the law. It's in your closet. It's sitting in the book by your bedside, on your nightstand, etc. It is right here before you. It has always been, though you have not understood it, for the simple fact the Most High caused a famine in the lands, meaning it wasn't a famine of bread or water, it was a famine of his word. So for centuries, the Most High's word has not been taught to anyone, and those times have changed. Verse 12. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldest say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it. So this word is not in heaven. Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldest say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it. But the word is very nigh unto thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it. So, you know killing is wrong. You know adultery is wrong. There's many things that's in your heart that you know it's wrong. What many of us don't know and don't understand is the stiff penalty for these things. And once we go into the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and we now understand exactly how, when we walk contrary to this law, how it affects our house, how it affects the nation and everything around us, then we understand the stiff penalty for these things. So this law, these instructions are nigh unto you. It's right here in this book. Verse 15. See, I have set before thee this day life and good, death and evil. Life and good. This law, receive good things, receive an extension of your life, receive the bounty of your children, good health, etc. Evil, anything contrary to the Most High's law. And death, of course, meaning you will be plucked up by the roots and you will not be allowed to have seed that may be before the Most High, that may dwell in his courts. All right, verse 16. In that I command thee this day to love Yah thy strong one, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply. And Yah thy strong one shall bless thee in the land whither thou goest to possess it. So, if we walk in this law, when we go to possess the land of Israel, as we return back into that land, he will bless us and he will bless that land. Verse 17. But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shalt be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them. Should you decide, you know what, I'm not going to walk in these laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, I'm going to walk by the way of the Romans. I'm going to go worship JC and the Muslim God and the Hindu God and whomever else. Verse 18. I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land. He's going to kill you early. Whether thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it. So he was going to extend our days. We would live longer. We would have children. We would multiply. We would be prosperous. And should we turn away from this thing, it's going to be the opposite. Okay? Verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. That's you and your children. Once again, there's a lesson that I have up titled You and Your Seed. There's no such thing as spiritual Israel. Israel is a genetic line of people. You and your seed, your children, your posterity. The stranger is forever a stranger that dwells in the midst of Israel. He still has to obey the law, statutes, judgments, precepts that we do, but he doesn't become an Israelite because he has taken a hold of the Most High's covenant. Verse 20. That thou mayest love Yah thy strong one, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him, for he is thy life. That's important. And the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land which Yah thy strong one sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. Now, that concludes Deuteronomy chapter 30. In order for us to be redeemed from this land, in order for us to receive salvation from this land, in order for us to be delivered out of the hands of our enemies, we must first return back onto the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts that we were given at the first. And there is no other way. How do we know that there's no other way than this? Simple. For 400 years plus and more, we have tried everything else and it has failed us. So this is all we've got left. We are trying things that we have tried before, and we're going to get the same results that we have tried before. So consider this law. Consider this instruction that we were given at the first. Remember, the Most High doesn't do anything off the cuff. He gives us the end in the beginning. We are in the beginning of the book right here reading this. So we know the end result is that we have to revert back to this law in order to reconcile ourselves back onto him. There's no other way. We have tried everything else. We have been screaming and calling upon other gods. And the Most High told us, in your time of trouble, scream and call for these gods that you have poured out drink offerings to, that you continue to cry to. Let them deliver you in the time of your trouble, in the time of your tribulation. We have been doing this for centuries. We continue to come up snake eyes. So therefore, we are to consider these laws, the statutes, judgments, and precepts that we were given. Now, returning back onto this thing, only a tenth will do it. Why? Because going back onto the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, it will require discipline. Most people don't have what's called discipline, because you have to deal with, now I've got to make sure that I'm in the house on the Sabbath day. I've got to ensure that I walk in these laws. I don't steal. I don't lie. I can't wear whatever I want. I have to grow my beard out. I have to do this. I have to do that. I can't go celebrate Christmas. I've been doing it for 50 years. And all of a sudden I have to separate myself from my family. I have to listen to what my parents have to say exactly. You're going to get a bunch of pushback from many different people who walk contrary to this law. And some people don't want to be left out, don't want to be cut off from their families, and they do not want to cut off their families. So this is something that only a very disciplined person can do. So, one second. As I was stating, this is something that only a very disciplined person can do, that is not worried about the ramifications of how their parents are going to treat them, what their friends would have to say, etc., etc. So returning back onto this law requires what's known as sacrifice. Okay, I'm not speaking about a sacrifice as far as offering up an animal. I'm referring to the things like, okay, well, you can't go to the Christmas party, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't wear this, you can't wear that. The Most High has stipulations, and if you're someone who have been accustomed to running amok of the Most High's law and doing whatever it is you want, okay, you're kind of like an oxen unaccustomed to the yoke. When it's time to walk a straight and narrow, you're accustomed to going left, right, making 360s and doing everything else. So it's going to require someone who is strong in faith, strong in discipline, in order to return back onto this law. That way, we can see how, as individuals and as a collective, we can benefit from it. Now, as it pertains to returning to this law, a lot of the quote-unquote pastors and priests and all these other individuals, a lot of what they're doing is religious psychobabble. Uh, they're saying things that they won't do and don't do. The Christian churches, and that's all of them, because these nations in which the children of Israel are scattered are Christian nations. Some of them are Muslim nations. However, these Christians, okay, all that they are doing, it is contrary to the Most High's law. That is why you don't hear them speak on the Most High's law at all. Because if you become aware of the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, that is the standard. If you took that standard and put it up against a Christian, put it up against a Roman, same people, Romans, Christians, same thing, you will see clearly that everything that these heathen do is contrary to the Most High's law. That's why they can't teach it. Because if they teach, they can't teach it because they're not ordained to teach it in the first place. It was not given to them. However, you take this standard and put it up against them, and then you can clearly understand why this doesn't come out of their mouth, for the simple fact that they walk contrary to this. Now, that goes for some Israelites who are also teaching this Christianity. They're not going to speak about not allowing our daughters to become whores, because a lot of them are running through our daughters, making them whores. Okay, they're not going to speak about stealing because they're stealing. They're not going to speak about adultery because they're in idolatry. In adultery. They're not going to speak about idolatry because they're in idolatry. They're not going to speak about homosexuality because they are doing homosexual acts. So a lot of these men, they're cowards that's leading our people astray. And they will not turn to this law, nor will they teach you to turn to it. Because if you were to turn to it, you would turn away from them. And if you turn away from them, then you're going to pull money out of their pockets. So it's quite an ugly hustle that's being ran on our people and being ran on the stranger that is of a contrite spirit. So these are some things for us to consider as it pertains to the Most High's law. This is the extension of his mercy. The law is grace. This is our extension of his mercy. This is how we receive salvation, by returning back onto these laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. There's no other way. No one has ever died for you or anything of the sort. If you read this law, you would know that without a shadow of a doubt. So, once again, Israel, and the stranger that is of a contrite spirit, go over the Torah, consider it carefully, look at what's happening around you, look at what has happened in times past, and kind of look to where you think things may be going excuse me, in the future. Currently, things are not looking good. It's getting worse. And the goal is to position yourself and gain the knowledge by which you can save yourself, and you may be able to educate those in your house and those around you, that they may be able to save themselves. We all have a decision to make. And it's very simple. Good and evil. Choose good that you may live. Choose evil and die. And the Most High has no in between. At no time did he say to try. I would like you to try to follow my law. It's follow it or die. And those are very strict commandments. They're strict and they're straight. They're narrow. Okay, it's not for the undisciplined. Anyway, that concludes this lesson. Salvation 101, video 101. How we can return and reconcile ourselves back onto the Most High and remove these curses off of our heads and put it on our enemies and see how they deal with that. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. You are to stay in this law. You are to take a hold of this law and not let it go. It is all you've got. We've tried everything else. It has failed us. And this is all that I see. If you see something different, be sure to put it at the bottom of the box so I can look at it, because I have not seen us try anything else in the many lands of our captivity and had any success at it or with it. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Stay in the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Peace, Israel.